Title: Real American Horror Story, Episode 3, The Curse of Hollow Creek. In the heart of rural America, there was a small, isolated town called Hollow Creek. Surrounded by dense woods and a dark history, the town was known for its eerie silence after sunset. The locals never spoke of the woods, nor did they venture out after dark. Legend had it that the town was cursed, a curse that stemmed from an old tragedy that no one dared to discuss. This was no ordinary tale, but the locals knew better than to test it. However, one autumn evening, a group of college friends, passing through the town, decided to ignore the warnings. Among them were Jake, an adventurous soul, Emily, the skeptic, Sarah, the one always scared, and Mark, who was always up for a thrill. They had heard about Hollow Creek and its legend from the gas station attendant, who had told them to avoid the woods. But what's the fun in that, Jake thought. We've got to check it out, Jake urged, his eyes gleaming with excitement. No way, Sarah protested, feeling uneasy even at the thought. Come on, it's just a stupid story, Emily said, rolling her eyes. Mark grinned, what's the worst that could happen? Against Sarah's better judgment, the group found themselves driving toward the edge of Hollow Creek. The sun had already begun to set, casting long shadows across the road as they reached the entrance to the woods. A rusty, old sign creaked in the wind, barely visible in the dim light. It read, "Beware. No entry after dark." Jake smirked. It's like they're asking us to go in. Emily shook her head, but she wasn't one to back down from a challenge. They grabbed their flashlights, locked the car, and stepped into the dark, looming woods. The forest was quiet, unnervingly so. Not a single bird chirped, and the air felt heavy, as if it were holding its breath. As they ventured deeper, the trees seemed to close in around them, their branches stretching like bony fingers. Sarah clung to Mark's arm, her anxiety growing with every step. I don't like this, she whispered, her voice shaking. Jake, leading the group, laughed. Relax, Sarah. It's just trees. But then, there was a sound, an odd rustling, not far behind them. Everyone froze. What was that? Emily asked, her voice tight with tension. Probably just a raccoon, Mark offered, though even he didn't seem so sure. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and their breath became visible in the air. A chill ran down their spines as they realized this wasn't just the evening cold. Something was watching them. Jake turned to the group, trying to remain calm. Okay, maybe we should head back. But the path behind them had disappeared. What the hell? Emily gasped, panic rising in her chest. The trail they had walked on just minutes before was gone, as if the forest had swallowed it. The group's nerves were frayed, and fear began to set in. Mark, gripping Sarah's hand, whispered, "Stay close." Suddenly, a faint light appeared in the distance, dim and flickering, like a lantern. Look, over there, Jake pointed, maybe someone's there. Desperate for any sign of help, they followed the light. As they got closer, they saw it was coming from an old, run-down cabin, hidden deep within the woods. The door was slightly ajar, creaking with each gust of wind. Jake pushed the door open, and they all stepped inside. The cabin was cold and musty, filled with broken furniture and faded memories of a time long forgotten. On the walls were old, yellowed photographs of a family, parents with their 2 children, smiling. But there was something unsettling about their eyes. "Creepy," Emily muttered, as she scanned the room. Sarah, unable to shake her unease, whispered, "We should leave." But before anyone could respond, the door slammed shut behind them, locking them inside. Panic ensued as they tried to pry the door open, but it wouldn't budge. "Who's doing this?" Mark yelled, banging on the wood. Suddenly, the air became thick, and a cold wind swirled inside the cabin. The photographs on the walls began to shift, the smiles on the faces turning into twisted, sinister grins. Emily screamed, "We need to get out of here." But as they turned to find another exit, they were met with a figure standing in the corner of the room. It was a woman, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes hollow and black. She didn't move, just stared at them with a haunting intensity. Jake took a step back, his heart pounding. "Who are you?" he managed to stammer. The woman's lips parted, and in a voice that sent shivers down their spines, she whispered, "You shouldn't have come." Suddenly, the room began to shake violently, and the walls started closing in. The friends screamed, huddling together, as the woman moved closer. She reached out her bony hand, pointing at Jake. "You will pay for their sins," she hissed. Before anyone could react, the floor beneath Jake gave way, and he was sucked into a dark void. The others could only watch in horror as he disappeared, his screams echoing in the darkness. Mark, Emily, and Sarah stood frozen, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Without warning, the woman vanished, and the door to the cabin creaked open once more. Trembling, the 3 remaining friends rushed out, not daring to look back. But as they ran through the woods, they realized something horrifying: Jake wasn't the only one who had disappeared. The woods were shifting again, twisting the paths, and soon, they found themselves back at the cabin's front door. "No, this can't be happening," Sarah cried, tears streaming down her face. The curse of Hollow Creek had trapped them, and there was no escape. The ghostly figure of the woman appeared again, her eyes locked on Emily this time. "Leave this place, if you want to live," she whispered. But the woods had other plans for them, and deep down, they knew there was no leaving Hollow Creek. Moral of the story: curiosity may lead you to uncover dark secrets, but some places and tales are best left unexplored. In the pursuit of thrills, one might end up unleashing forces beyond human comprehension. Not all legends are just stories.